I thought Pete was running the meeting. Am I running the meeting?
Yeah, you're the chair.
I thought you were the chair of the subcommittee there.
Oh, I thought Roland was.
Well, then I'll start the meeting and pledge order and pledge of allegiance. So we'll start with the pledge of allegiance.
Hey, we got a flag. All right, this is good.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the
republic
which stands
one nation
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Never really coordinated. Hey, I like that. Flag waiver.
Well, I wish I was where Mike Warner is. Okay, roll call, please. Then we don't have do we have a secretary?
We do not.
We don't. So I'll call the roll call. And that would be Dan Romero.
Present.
David Biggs.
Here.
Mike Warner. Here. Click here. Okay. Hector De La Rosa.
Here.
And I guess it's
Tamara Miller.
I'm sorry, Tamara Miller. I see
Here.
That. Okay. Pete Murray.
Here.
And who else do we have?
Andrea Miller.
I thought Andrea just, oh, that was.
Andrea Miller here.
Right, Andrea's here, okay. Are there any others?
Roland.
We haven't.
Is here.
Roland, okay, I see Roland now up on the left-hand side. Anybody?
Mike Roberts.
Mike Roberts. Anyone else? Okay, do we have any citizens to be heard today on any of the subject matter? Well, not any subject, just citizens to be heard.
Mayor Roy Swearingen, I'm acting as the clerk for citizens, and I have no emails from any citizens to be heard.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll go to item 5, operators report. Ron Toby, if you would.
I'm sorry to say that Ron won't be able to join us today.
Okay.
We are anticipating some challenges in Pinole, so we started our shift early to treat all the wastewater that comes through the plant, to at least do the workload that goes with treating all the wastewater that comes through the plant. So he's unable to join us.
Okay. Item 6 then would be new connections, Pinole and Hercules. What is new connection?
I can report on behalf of the city of Pinole. We have no new connections to report.
City of Hercules?
No new connections to report for this quarter.
That's pretty interesting, actually. Capital projects closeout and our WPCP upgrade. Loan status, Andrea Miller, if you would.
Yes, good morning. Our total disbursements received through May 31st is $48,124,324. That was $24,062,162 for each agency. Total reimbursements received from the state revolving fund loan is $48,726,112. That's $23,808,332 to the city of Pinole and $24,917,780 to Hercules. Worth noting that staff has reached out to the state to determine why Pinole has not received their disbursement number 19 as of yet. Disbursement 19 in the amount of $1.3 million per agency was submitted in December, and the state was awaiting updated documents from both cities, and most recently we're waiting for the finalization of our quarterly report for release of those funds. So it's unclear why Hercules did receive a $1.1 million disbursement to their account already. So as it relates to the escrow balances, as of May 31st, there's $2,503,359 for the city of Pinole and $3,613,469 for the city of Hercules, because they did have a reimbursement deposit last month. And that concludes my verbal report.
Okay, do we have any questions from the board?
No.
No question.
Okay, the only question is how much is left that we need to pay out before we close out the account?
Tamara, do you have an estimate of total receipts, invoices left to pay out?
I know that we are going to pay Kiewit a total of just under $47,200,000, and we have some outstanding payments to them. I do know upon reviewing the escrow account balance that there will be more than adequate revenue or funds, I should say, in the escrow account to cover the invoices out to Kiewit and to HDR and Carollo engineers. We also have a responsibility to repair Tennant Avenue from San Pablo Avenue to the wastewater treatment plant, and we're currently working on getting a price quote or an estimate for the recommended treatment for that area, so I don't have a number for that.
So that will also come out of both funds, the Hercules and the Pinole funding sources.
Yes, that is correct. That will cost of restoring Tennant Avenue because of the damage, because of the project, will be shared equally with Hercules and Pinole.
Okay, I would like to see at some point in time, if even if it's only an estimate from an engineer's estimate, the remaining costs, including the paving of Tennant Avenue, so that we can look at a final number for the committee to look at a final number that it can be off a little bit, obviously, but it'll give us some sort of a idea of if there's going to be some money left over, where's that money going to go? Does it go back into the loan payment, or does it go back into general funds? Where does it go?
Well, the balance of the escrow account would be returned to each city, and those funds came from the enterprise, so they would be returned to the enterprise. I would assume that would be the case for both Hercules and Pinole.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
And
Chair.
any other questions?
Mr. Chair, this is Dan Romero.
Yeah, Dan.
I would like to have the engineer's report come back to the committee so we get to see what it is and be able to just talk about that. I agree that they should come back before the committee and have a discussion.
Okay, thank you. We don't meet again till September, so there should be more realistic bottom line numbers by then. Tamara, is that correct?
Yes, I hope to have numbers within 30 days, actually.
Okay. And if that could be forwarded to the committee, that would be appreciated. So we have a kind of a updated financial statement.
Yes, I will follow that direction and prepare a tech memo, and as soon as it's available, I'll release it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, moving on to the proposed plaque layout, Mike Roberts.
Actually, Mayor, I'll be taking.
That's ROY, by the way.
I'll be taking over this presentation.
Okay.
Bear with me while I look for some of the documents I'd like to share. So I'll be presenting to the council 4 different documents for you to share. They're sample layouts of what a plaque may look like. Again, these are preliminary. Just as way of background, this project has been a long multi-year project. In 2012, when I got here, we were about to start applying for SRF funds. And so we've had over 8 years of working on this project. And over those 8 years, we've had multiple people involved. We've had prior council members, we've had prior staff, new council members. So what we've sort of outlined here as a potential plaque layout is a recognition of all the parties who have been involved in some way or another. As you can see here, we have, if I could enlarge this a little, we've had, there we go. multiple members. We have the layout here as presented, and you'll notice that it's centered, or at least laid out so that, I'm sorry, I'm getting some feedback. Laid out so that you have the current council and the current, for both cities, and then you have sort of the layout there. Then you have the former council members for both cities, and then you have staff layout there. And again, we recognize not only the current Pinole and city staff, but also prior staff that have been involved in the process. And let me just go down. And then we, at the bottom, we recognize our construction manager, design engineer, and also our contractor. So this is just one idea of a format. Let me give you another sort of idea of a format. Bear with me here. So that was layout. Here's layout 2, the second layout. Very similar in the context of all the individuals recognized. However, it's sort of separated on both ends. Just a little different layout. I'll give you the layout for the next layout that we're proposing. And this is a slightly different layout in that it only recognizes the current council and, excuse me, it recognizes the current council and the current, oops, too much. Current council and the current staff. Can everybody see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have the current Pinole council, current Hercules council, and then you have the current Pinole staff and current Hercules staff, as well as the construction manager, design engineer, and contractor. Very simple. In most cities that I've talked to or I've experienced, regardless of the number of years that have gone by, they typically recognize just the most current council when they accepted the project. Just by way of example, when I was in Rio Vista as a city manager, we were just completing a wastewater project, and they wanted me to be on the plaque, and I didn't feel that I personally should have been on the plaque because, quite honestly, I didn't have anything to do with the facility from the start or the end. I just want to mention that in case the council didn't like this layout or wanted to recognize other employees, prior employees. And then let me show you the last example that I have here. This is a little different. This again recognizes the current council mainly. It does mention the construction manager, design engineer, and contractor. And then on the bottom, it actually thanks all former and current council members. And I'll probably change that to say all former and current staff, as opposed to current council members, since they're recognized, who were instrumental in obtaining funding and approval to make this project a success. And then at some point, there was a discussion about Dean Allison, who was very instrumental in getting this project moving forward. So on the bottom, I put a special thanks to Dean Allison, former, and it should say director, excuse me, Director of Public Works, City Engineer. So I've laid out 4 different scenarios. I'm open to any discussions that the council and this board may have. Just wanted to sort of give you, again, we could change anything. We could change the titles. We could change the project name, just 4 for your consideration. And with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
Okay, questions or comment?
Mr. Roy?
Yes.
I sort of like 3, but I would like to also acknowledge Dean Allison. So now, do we have to have former? I mean, he left as the Director of Public Works, City Engineer. Can we just recognize them?
We can do whatever the board would like.
Okay. So I would be okay with 3 with the mention of Dean Allison.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to say former engineer. I think we just say city engineer.
Correct.
You know, may I weigh in?
Yeah.
There's no additional cost. I just think that because this project was so long and
Arduous.
that just acknowledge everybody that was participating in it, and that way, you know, everybody move forward with it. Once you start kind of isolating, you know, we got 2 city councils. Once you start isolating down to just, you know, the existing city council, you get hurt feelings. And, you know, as we all recognize, there was, you know, more parties involved in this to get it, you know, going, and then, you know, seeing it to its conclusion. So I just think that it's fair to acknowledge everybody. And what the heck, you know, we're going to take the time to read it.
Is this the one that we're sharing now? Is this something that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so. Is that the first one?
No, I'll bring up the first one. Let me see here.
And I agree about using the words like former and all of that. That doesn't need to be on there. Again, that separates and isolates.
Here's the first one.
And is that all inclusive?
I believe that includes everyone. I would defer to the city of Hercules to make sure that that includes everyone as far as staff and council.
For the city of Hercules, we did have Steve Durand as a former city manager who was part of this.
Correct.
We also had former city engineer, Mr. McGuire, John McGuire.
This is Tamara. I just noticed that Andrea Miller, our finance director's name, is not on there and should be added. Her contributions were instrumental in keeping this project going.
Okay.
Excuse me, David Biggs here. I don't know if Councilor Romero was John Delgado on when this first kicked off, because he was on when I first arrived.
No, it was always Myrna and myself.
Okay.
So I would like to mention one thing is we used 2012 as the starting point because that's when we applied for the SRF funds or started the process. So we're using 2012 forward.
Well, that would include John Delgado then, I think, as a council member on our side, but.
This is Mike here. So we actually did compile a list from 2012 forward. We can cross-reference it against the preferred plaque layout.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing, I received that and I don't recall seeing Mr. Delgado on there.
Yeah, John, right. He's buried in the middle of the list, so it'd be easy to miss him, but he's listed 2010 to 2014.
Okay.
If I could ask a question referencing the use of former, on the council members themselves that were on formal council, if we're not going to use the word former for staff, perhaps we don't need that interim header bar that says former Pinole Hercules council members, and we can just tuck those up under the other ones.
It could say prior instead of former, and
Or we could use past.
Yeah, past.
One of the things I will mention is that our policy that we developed on plaques talks about an 18 by 18 being the largest plaque that we would allow. It also talks about Times Roman 24 font. What you're seeing here is Times Roman 24 font on an 18 by 18 layout. So the more people that we add, the larger font that we use, it's going to exceed. So what we'll have to do is use a smaller font, and then you'll start losing some of the names. You'll have to really walk up to it and look for it.
Well, you'll have to expand that. Obviously, we can do a wraparound. We'll just wrap around the plant. And,
Correct. That's another option. We could do side plaques.
I'm kidding. Just do a larger plaque. I mean, 48 by 48. You know, gee whiz.
I support a larger plaque, an 18 by 18 inch plaque for this particular type of sign, for this particular size of project, for this duration of time, for that many names. It should be larger.
Also, can I add, I really like the city emblems on, number 3 and number 4. And if this is the one that we're going to use, if we can also really put those emblems, that I think it would be great. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, I think the city logos should be on there. You showed one that had the city logos on there. I think that kind of added a little bit of style, so to speak, to it, a little bit of color.
Oh, pizzazz.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
We can do that. So what I'm hearing, just as a recap, unless there's any additional comments, is, and let me go back here, is the committee likes this layout. They'd like to take the word former out and use past. We have a couple of names to add, which is Steve Duran, Mr. McGuire, Andrea Miller, John Delgado. We'd like the plaque to include the logos for each city, and then evaluate a larger plaque that will accommodate all of this.
Is that the will of the committee, or is there any other additions or deletions?
What was the size of the plaque going to be? Was it going to be 24 by 24 now?
We could look at what the size of the plaque would be. Once I get the layout, I'll send it off to a company, and then we can ask them for their recommendation. But this is an 18 by 18. It'll probably be a larger one, 24 by 24 or larger.
That's not all that big either, so that's fine.
Will this be done before 2020? Because we had 2020 on this.
This would probably take, my estimation, once we get everything done, according to the individual we talked to, given that Corona and everything, it may be about 6 to 8 weeks.
But as long as it's done this year, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we're looking at doing a dedication in probably in December. Or I'm sorry, September.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Good.
Thank you.
Everybody
And
good?
Just to make sure
That direction.
We like the layout here where the center, we have the mayor, council members in the center, everything centered.
The one that you're showing is fine, and add the logos to it.
Yes. Okay.
Now, was this number 2 or 3 or 4?
This was 2.
2, and so you're going to go with 2 with the emblems on it.
Correct.
The city logos.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for getting that put together. I don't know what just happened on my computer.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Chair, it's Mike Roberts. I'd like to thank Hector for stepping in and handling this item. As you see, my name was listed on the agenda, but he volunteered to do it. So just wanted to thank him for that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Okay, we're moving on to future ribbon cutting event. Tamara Miller.
Thank you very much. And I apologize, I can't flip my face back on. My internet here is not strong enough to send that many, whatever, bits and bytes. The ribbon cutting event, we were hopeful that we would have it in June, but due to our current shelter in place, that is not a possibility. I did hear reference to possibly September. I had looked up a few monumental dates in the future so that we could shoot for something interesting. And the Clean Water Act was passed in October of 1972, October 18th. So I was going to suggest that possibly we consider October 17th, which would then be the 48th anniversary of the signing of the Clean Water Act. And that would be a Saturday in the middle of October.
Sounds great, actually.
Hey, how does that work with the board?
I'm okay.
I'm okay as well.
I'm okay as well. I think it's very significant with regards to the date.
Okay, then October 17th will be our target date for the dedication, the ribbon cutting.
What time? 7 in the morning?
6 is better for me.
Okay.
You got the
I
wait.
heard there was a 5 o'clock.
Oh, is there a 5 o'clock available? Okay.
Well, 5 o'clock in the morning was when the donuts are the best.
Ah, that's very true.
Oh.
That's where I was agreeing with that. It's Hercules' turn to buy too.
Okay, let's move on to.
Hercules donuts then.
It'd be the first time Hercules bought, isn't it?
No.
We've been paying, I'll tell you that.
Roy, if I could ask, Chair
Yes.
Roy, if I could ask for permission to make a presentation to the City of Hercules before we move on to the budget as it relates to item 7. The project was recognized by the American Public Works Association, and we've already seen the plaque that came, or the little trophy that came for the City of Pinole, and we did order a second trophy for the City of Hercules. So I have that trophy to hand to Mike Roberts. Mike, are you there?
Mike's still
Sorry, I
there?
had to unmute myself. Yes, I'm here, Tamara.
All right, I'm handing it to you now.
Oh, that's tricky.
Okay, I
How do you
won't
do
put my
that?
mask on, but thank you. So hopefully you
cute.
can all
That was cute.
hopefully you can all see the trophy here. Very classy of Tamara to get a second trophy and list the City of Hercules as well. I don't know if the board members like to say anything, but thank you very much.
That's great. I was going to mention that, the fact that Hercules should also have the duplicate, but hopefully it is that. So.
You know, that was pretty good how you did the handoff, but I like the toilet paper roll better on TV. So, actually, that rolls on the paper.
The meeting is disintegrating quickly, Roy. Try to get control.
All right, I'm just kidding. Congratulations.
Congratulations, yes, all around. And to all the staff people that have been, the staff people that have been working through this from day one. Okay, the City of Pinole, item 8, City of Pinole proposed budget for units 500 through 641. The sewer fund, is that Tamara?
I'll take it,
Tamara?
Andrea Miller.
Andrea, okay, thank you.
David has first, there we go. So the slide before you this morning is the sewer enterprise revenue and expense, and it shows our revenues at the top. Total revenue we're projecting for fiscal year 2020-21 is $7,648,971. Charges for services are allocated back to the City of Hercules based on actual use, which is, so we budget approximately 50%, but again, it's allocated based on actual flow data. That does not include equipment replacement costs. So we have a budget of $2,158,341 built in. Worth noting, as I'll get into the details in the next slide, we also have a sewer project share that we're projecting to bill the $50,000 proportionate share back to Hercules. So that's also included in that charges for service number up top. So the total expense budget for the sewer treatment plant is $4,656,727, a net increase over the current year's budget of $175,894. And on the next slide, David, I'll go into a little more explanation about that. So we built into our expense projection salary and benefit increases for the cost of living adjustments and increased pension costs and such. We've also added a project for the digester cleaning in the amount of $235,000. And we've also reduced the equipment maintenance and compliance inspection costs to align with the average expense that we've seen year over year. And then in the sewer projects division, as I mentioned, we've added a $100,000 project, and that's for a lab remodel. And those are pretty much the changes in the proposed budget year over the current year. And at this time, that concludes the budget presentation. If there's any questions, I can answer.
Yeah, I have no questions.
Okay, I'm back on. I'm sorry, my computer decided to do something different. Any questions from the board?
Well, I wanted to, yes, Mr. Mayor, Roy?
Yes.
I wanted to, can we get an explanation or, I guess the cost, I guess we used to pay somebody to haul off the sludge. And I guess City of Pinole staff decided that it might have been getting too costly. But I haven't seen any reports about that. So I was trying to find out if the Hercules members can get some sort of copy of the report where you guys made the decision of to stop hauling of the sludge and look into possibly buying trucks to haul it off. So was that a city council agenda item, or was that a internal document inside Public Works?
I'm Tamara Miller. I'm here. I am available to speak to that. So the city of Pinole has been self-hauling sludge for many years. So we currently own our own dump trucks, and they sit under our centrifuge equipment and receive the sludge, and then drive off to Keller Canyon, or not Keller Canyon, I'm sorry, the landfill in Antioch. Is that Keller Canyon? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have two that we cycle under the centrifuge, and those trucks actually have lived out their useful life. And Ron Toby came to me and said, hey, we need to buy new trucks. And I said, okay, well, let's take just a quick look at the optional ways of handling sludge. I do like to be as green as possible. So there had been a new recovery facility placed in the Fairfield-Sassoon area. So I reached out to Republic Services and the recovery facility in Fairfield-Sassoon and priced hauling the material by contract to the recovery facility. And it was cost prohibitive. I talked to Republic about having them haul the materials to Keller, and it too was cost prohibitive. My thinking as a analyst for the enterprise fund was that we actually put an operator, a certified wastewater operator, into a dump truck and drive to the landfill. So looking at options gave me an opportunity to see if we could keep the operator at the plant and put somebody else in the truck. But as I mentioned, it was cost prohibitive. So we did not move in that direction. So we're continuing to move in the direction that we always have. I have notes at my desk in my budget folder, but there was no tech memo because, in fact, we are not recommending any change whatsoever. We're just recommending replacing the hauling equipment that we currently use to haul the sludge to the landfill.
Okay. And then my last question is, I guess, with Recycle More recently, I think within the last year or two, there was some sort of a study made that included the sludge, and I don't know if Tamara and Mike could find out what that was about with the Recycle More and their study about that. They were incorporating the sludge as part of the recycling, and but they had also included West County waste also in that, wastewater. So, and that was within the last 2 years, I think that occurred. So, right, well, thank you for your report on that. And so now, was one of the trucks budgeted last year?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So, so I guess if it's budgeted and you don't buy it, then it doesn't. There's no cost or nothing that has to be. Do you guys like carry over from year to year on something that you've planned on budgeting and you've already budgeted one time? So do you just carry it over to the next year?
I don't know if you want to take on that question, Tamara. The question is, there was a truck budgeted in 1 year that was not purchased. If it is the intent to carry it forward, we did, but I don't see where we have a truck carried forward. Did you want to speak to that, Tamara?
Yes, we did budget the replacement of one truck last year, and we intend to replace the second truck this year. So we will be asking that last year's $150,000 that we budgeted be carried forward. So we have in this year $300,000 truck replacement line item. That was one of the correction notes I made, Andrea, in the draft, the final. I apologize,
right.
It may not have hit the paper yet.
Correct, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Roy.
Hey, any other questions? Okay, I think that's the last item on our agenda. And thank you all for attending. Thank you, staff, for your indulgence with the board today. And it's a beautiful day outside, so let's all enjoy it, except for staff. They're going to have to work.
Roy, can I ask one question of staff?
Yeah.
You go. So, do we have a letter of completion for the plant at this point in time, or is that something?
I think, and Tamara can correct me on this, don't we still have retention out on that plant?
Yes, I would be happy to report on that. There was a notice of completion in accordance with the Public Contracting Act prepared and filed. The official completion date, and Mike Warner might have to help me because I don't remember the exact date. I think it's May 6th of 2020 we used as the completion date, and that document has been filed and sent to the clerk recorder. So that is our official completion date.
But do we still have some outstanding retention, maybe 5% or something still left out there?
Yes, Chair. We have the retention as well as the closeout change order that settles our issues. We actually, as staff, are preparing an agenda item to bring to the Pinole Council at the Pinole Council's next meeting to have that change order reviewed. The size and magnitude of that change order is such that in order for it to be signed, we require council approval in accordance with the finance agreement behind this project. So we're bringing that last change order forward, and that actually coincides with the retention release. So at that point, we'll be able to compensate Kiewit for the project costs.
Okay, so both cities will be aware of the costs involved in that, right?
Yes, both cities have already been involved in the cost of the final closeout change order. I want to thank Mike Warner. He did the hard work of negotiating that with Kiewit, and he did an excellent job.
All right, thank you, Michael.
Okay, and just one question: was the retention included in the prior financial statements? So that's not going to be added to that final bottom line number.
On the tracking for the disbursements from the loan, the release of retention is not embedded in there, but in the notice of completion, the final pay estimate, the retention is within that number. So once we release the retention, then Andrea will prepare a disbursement request that will recover the final pay application and change orders, as well as the retention from the loan.
Okay. Any further questions on the loan or the completion? Okay, well, thank you for that information, and we'll look forward to finishing this up, hopefully in the next 30 days, and then we'll meet again prior to the grand opening. Well, thank you all again for attending today, and have a great day, and stay out of trouble, and be safe.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Have a great day.